So the Cougs go to Florida and they win 37-24. Now just one of 5 teams in BYU history. It's 100 years. 5 teams have made an 8-0 start, and this group is one of them.
That really puts it in perspective, doesn't it, of what you need to do. Hey, I like Neil's comment, by the way, Dave. He says, best BYU show ever, although AFR is a close second.
Thank you.
So thank you for both of those.
AFR is tomorrow night. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, we're going to have fun with that.
Hey, I don't know how many angles we can show of that fake field goal, but we're going to do our best.
It's the only double snap first down I've ever seen.
It was nuts.
Like there's the big play that Harvey got around the edge. He didn't score, but he got a long run and it led to a touchdown. The linebacker had outside. He was supposed to keep outside leverage. He comes up. He takes a perfect attack. Harvey bounces. He just takes one step inside, and the linebacker just peeks inside instead of like literally didn't even go inside. Just peeked inside. Harvey was good enough that he bounced it outside and got the edge and went down the sideline for about 50 yards. You have to trust that your teammate has the inside. And it's those little things that BYU can still fix because they're very athletic and they're very physical on both sides of the ball. They're very talented. They just clean up a few things. This team can be even better.
As we get into what we liked from the UCF game, we say hello to Idaho Falls, Saratoga Springs, Utah,
Brigham
City,
yeah.
Utah. Hop on, let us know where you're taking this in from anywhere in the world. Here's what we liked. We liked that BYU doubled the time of possession on the road at UCF.
Yeah.
I feel like they were out there forever.
BYU had 40 minutes and 28 seconds, and UCF had 19:45.
Yeah.
I don't remember a game where that's been the case that BYU's been in a long time. Not top of mind. It was dominating. We liked that BYU outrushed UCF, who came in. It was one of the top rushing teams in the country. 252 yards of rushing for BYU to just 181 for Utah, for Central Florida.
The Cougs pulled off a fake field goal. Sam Vander Harr was the holder. Will Ferrin was the kicker. And Dalton Riggs was the center. And together the three won the Pop-Tarts Crazy Good Play of the Week award. And as a result, Pop-Tarts is going to send all these Pop-Tarts to the football team.
Yeah,
and they say, have at it.
And I just saw just before I came up that Will Ferrin was the Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Week.
Fantastic.
And well-deserved for the day of a start. Pretty fun. How many times does a kicker go perfect on field goals, perfect on extra points, and also runs for a first down on a fake field goal? So he deserved it.
Yeah,
so
that was great to see. And it was such a cool play.
Yeah.
When we were watching it, was like, what just happened?
Did he snap that between his legs? Did he just throw that between his legs? We looked at each other, right? Grants Pass, Oregon in the house.
San Antonio, Texas, Huntsville, Alabama, and Weatherford, Texas.
Yeah, so cool. Cary, Idaho.
Here's what else we loved. The BYU alumni, and we talked about it last week on the show with Central Florida Chapter Chair Christian Rasband, donated 2,000 pounds of food to the UCF's Knights Pantry. So a shout out to everyone who helped make that happen. That's awesome.
BYU consistently leaves, the opponent's city better than they found it when they got there. They do something good, and opponents have a hard time hating the Cougs.
I know it.
Which is great. We hit them with kindness when they come to see their teams here in LaVell Edwards Stadium, and when we go on the road, BYU's fans leave each place in a little bit better shape than they found it, which I think is amazing.
There's going to be a huge food drive between BYU and Utah leading into the game next week. And Michael Johansson, BYU's alumni director, is going to be with us. His counterpart from Utah will join the show next week. And we'll talk about how everyone can get involved in that.
Yep.
Maybe we can have like the greatest food drive ever.
Heading
into that.
That would be amazing.
And here's what else we liked. We liked that The Rock showed up at the Provo airport at 1:30 in the morning.
So cool.
And had this massive, seems like the Beatles were coming home. And they welcomed the football team back from Central Florida.
Yeah, that hasn't happened in a while. And everybody's... getting on the, I'm not saying they're bandwagoners, but this is a fun bandwagon that everybody wants to get on. And I love that everybody's jumping on board. And I love that everybody's so excited about it. So
there's plenty of room on the wagon.
Hey, while we're talking, there's we're going to talk about this in just a second when we talk about things that we didn't like quite as much. A little discussion going on the chat about, BYU taking the foot off the gas pedal and some of the fans saying, gosh, we wish Kalani would be a little meaner and stick it to the teams. And others saying, no, it's better to play, your backup. So it's a good discussion to have. Kalani will err on the side every time of getting guys in the game.
Sometimes we're more interested in your conversations than we are our own.
Yeah,
it's like
that's
a double.
A good one.
It's a double show. Shout out to Albuquerque, Boise, Idaho, and Harriman, Utah, on the live stream tonight. Here's a couple of things we didn't like. BYU went to sleep in the fourth quarter, and a lot of comments already on the stream about that. Got outscored 14-3. They were playing third and fourth string guys, and Central Florida was playing their A-listers. They brought in the young quarterback, let him throw. And so when the game ended, you kind of felt like you survived it instead of celebrated it. But the work was done before those guys came in.
There was no doubt ever from the beginning of this game, because BYU, we talk about time of possession. In that first quarter, BYU absolutely dominated. They had the ball 12 minutes and 38 seconds of the first quarter, and Central Florida had it 2 minutes and 32 seconds. They had the ball 2 minutes and 22 seconds in the first quarter. And by the end of the first quarter, it just felt like Central Florida has no chance. They had no chance in this game. BYU's just going to dominate. So the game was in hand from the get-go. And the fact that they moved the ball a little bit at the end, Kalani doesn't really care about that. You know what he does care about, though? He gets upset when the seconds and thirds and fourths don't execute at a high level.
Yeah.
He gets upset when they don't, and it's a learning opportunity for them because he feels like depth is so very important. And BYU's been pretty good, the ones and twos this year. But Dave Nixon turned to me, and you guys know, I know this team really well, especially the defense. We have a lot of them over to our house, right? And he turned over and he goes to me, "Who's that playing corner?" And I go, "I do not know." If I don't know who's playing corner, they're getting into the depth chart.
You just joined the team there in Florida.
We had to look him up. And so they're getting into the depth chart when we've got to look up who's in the game.
Now, Jess is on board with us. The second thing we didn't like were all the penalties. There were 8 of them for 50 yards. And a few of those were pesky offsides calls that proved costly and completely unnecessary.
Yeah, and you know what? You won't have those kind of Utah. You know why? The crowd would be loud enough. The crowd was so quiet there at times that they would hear the quarterbacks clap and jump off. Most games you can't hear the quarterback clap. You've got to watch the ball, especially when you're on the defensive front. You don't watch the guy over you. You don't listen to what the quarterback's saying. You watch the ball. When the ball moves, you go. And absolutely, they're going to have a conversation about that this week because too many of those for sure.
Ty Detmer's coming up here in just a couple of moments. We know everybody listening is excited to hear from the Heisman Trophy winner, get his take on this 8-0 start, on Jake Retzlaff's performance. And we're also going to go back to his games against Utah and what stuck out to him. He went 3-1, 3-0 as a starter, and was part of that game up in Salt Lake where Scott Mitchell had the big day.
Yes.
By the way, Scott Mitchell's going to be on the show next Monday as we talk about the Utes and Cougars heading into game week. Let's visit Blaine's keys to beating the Knights. They're very similar to Christian Razban's, the BYU alumni chair for Central Florida. So let's visit with those.
Because his were almost identical.
Park City, Utah, Terre Haute, Indiana. There's our first Terre Haute, Indiana on the live stream.
Indiana in the house. Thanks for joining us. So my first was stuff the run. And the Knights, I would like to have kept them under 150, but they had 181 yards. But remember, this is a team that had 354 yards of rushing against Iowa State. I'm still giving them a check. I'm giving them a check for winning. And I think Harvey's one of the best backs they'll face all year.
Think about it. If you took the 54-yard run away, he was under 100 yards if you take that run away.
Right.
And they were 130?
Yeah. And two players made a mistake in terms of their gap control on that one. So got to clean it up. But I'll take 181 against that team.
All right. The next one was you wanted to see a quick passing game.
Yeah, I thought BYU in that first quarter came out and just moved the ball from sideline to sideline, got the quick passing game going, augmented it with a run game. Retzlaff was 16 of 24, 0 interceptions, 228 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I'm giving him a plus on that.
Check on that. And then win the turnover margin.
Yeah, they did 2-1. We'll take that all day long. 1 fumble for BYU, and then on a strip sack, 2 picks thrown by Central Florida. BYU's up to 14 picks this year.
Last week on the show, we had Elder Clark Gilbert, the Commissioner of Church Education, on the show. It was widely viewed and read about and all that stuff, which we were excited about. But in that show, toward the end, we said, hey, what are your keys to beating UCF? And boy, was he ready. Yeah. He was dropping names and stats, and so we wrote them down and we promised.
We told him we're holding him accountable.
So I believe he's watching tonight, so we want to revisit and give him credit where credit is due and also point out where he might have fallen short.
Yeah. Hey, before we go there, We got to give a shout out to Mahan Rai Lucas, who says "Go Cougs" from Jakarta, Indonesia.
Nice,
love it. Indonesia in the house tonight.
The Mackeys from Drummond, Montana. That's right next to Indonesia.
Yeah,
same
exactly.
time zone. All right, here's Elder Clark Gilbert's keys. 1, limit chunk plays and contain Harvey. Now, UCF had 2 chunk plays, 54 and 40 yards. The 40-yarder was on the pass that got away. Harvey was 16 of 128 for 2 touchdowns.
I'm gonna give him just a dash.
You're gonna have a dash.
And here's why. Because remember the chunk plays that Harvey and the quarterback have been getting. Harvey had an 80-yard run against Iowa State, and the quarterback Ja'Curry Brown had a 67-yard run, and they had a 63-yard pick six the week before. Yeah. So BYU did a much better job. I'm just going to give him a dash.
A dash on that. Play assignment, sound football, no hero ball.
For the most part, they did a couple of plays, and those are the two. Those 2 big plays: error in coverage on one, error in gap assignments on the other. But I'll give them a check on that. I think they did a good job at not playing hero ball.
And then Elder Gilbert's third key, feed the running backs. Martin had 101. Rapati had 83.
Yeah, Rapati averaged over 7 yards a carry, and Martin over 5 yards a carry. We're going to give them 2 checks on that one.
2 checks and a dash. That's a good debut.
Yeah, I'd say so.
After further review, by the way, tomorrow at 5 Mountain Time, you can watch it on the BYU TV app and ESPN Plus. We're going to break down all the big moments from the UCF game. Get an early look at the November 9th showdown at Utah. We call it the best hour of BYU football on television. I think we're going to break down 44 plays.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
We're going to get after it tomorrow night. So, and if you can't watch it tomorrow night, you watch it anytime on the BYU TV app. It's just sitting there. And so, when you're waiting for trick-or-treaters on Thursday to come to the house, just put on AFR.
Do it. Watch it. And Scott McKay says, yes, bordering Indonesia. Just like you said, Dave. Montana's just bordering Indonesia.
Surprises in the Big 12. And Ty Detmer's coming up on in just a couple of minutes. Houston beat Utah 17-14. Houston was the lowest scoring team in college football. They're bad. They're just a bad football team. And Utah got beat on a field goal. They've now lost 4 straight. We remember we used to say, if you beat a contender, you become the contender, and that's what happened when BYU routed Kansas State.
Right.
When you lose to the low of lows, that you become the low of lows, and they're 1 game out of last place in the Big 12, Utah.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I still think that Utah has the players on the defensive side to be an elite defense, but we saw this sometime last year when you're playing a brand new quarterback. And Jake Retzlaff at the end that wasn't ready to play, really. And boy, is he ready to play now.
Yeah.
Right? He's one of the elite quarterbacks in the country now. What a difference a year makes, right? And your offense isn't contributing in any way, shape, or form. Then your defense struggles. I don't care how good you are on defense. If your offense isn't doing anything, you're continually put in bad positions. And all of a sudden, it looks like you can run on Utah. And the offense just isn't helping. And that's the problem for Utah right now.
We're going to break down the Utes in great detail next week.
Yep, we'll do a lot more on them next week.
Another surprise, TCU beat Texas Tech 35-34. TCU's another offense that's really struggled. Texas Tech was flying high. They were tied for first place after the first 3 games. The last 2 games they've gotten beat, and losing to TCU, that's a dagger for the Red Raiders.
And Texas Tech's having a hard time stopping people. And TCU, I feel like they're getting better. So we'll see. 35-34. That's a rough one.
BYU in the AP Top 25. They're number 9. Iowa State's tied for 11th. Kansas State is 17. And Colorado breaks into the poll at 23.
Yeah, and Kansas State and BYU kind of traded, right? So BYU moves ahead, which I think is the right thing. BYU
that Iowa State, they jumped.
Yeah, Iowa State. Sorry, Iowa State. And I think that's the right thing. Iowa State, if you go back to last week, they played Central Florida at home and had to have a last-minute drive to win. BYU played them on the road and really dominated from start to finish. And then BYU has that win against Kansas State. Iowa State will get to play Kansas State on the last game of the season.
When BYU's playing Houston, those two will be playing each other.
So I think that game will determine one of the
Big 12 spots?
One of the Big 12 championship spots right there.
By the way, SMU, they're up to number 20. So far this season, SMU and Kansas State are 0-2 against BYU, and they're 14-0 against everybody else. Those two keep winning, and BYU's strength of schedule just keeps getting better.
I was looking at Twitter earlier today, and SMU and BYU fans, mainly one SMU fan and a few BYU fans, were getting into it on Twitter. I was like,
why? What for?
People, everybody for BYU should be rooting for SMU, and SMU, don't be talking trash to BYU when they beat you.
You didn't even score a touchdown on your own field.
Yeah, the SMU guy was saying, well, BYU's not that good, the Big 12's not that good. And the BYU fans were like, except for they beat you on your field.
Yeah.
Like, they both just needed to stop. BYU should be a huge fan of SMU right now, and SMU needs to recognize that they lost to BYU and just be humble.
Colorado's looking pretty good. BYU doesn't play them in the regular season.
Right.
That's probably a good thing. But it's an interesting time. Let's talk about bowl projections. From CBS, as of today, they've got BYU at Alabama in the first round of the college football playoff.
Right. That would be because CBS has BYU as the second team from the Big 12 to get in, right? They have Iowa State winning the Big 12 championship, and BYU, basically they have Iowa State and BYU playing each other in the Big 12 championship game, BYU losing, so they're still in the college football playoff. But they would get Alabama at Alabama.
Brett McMurphy has BYU at Texas A&M in the first round. I watched that A&M LSU game.
Oh, man.
Saturday night. I don't want anything to do with Texas A&M.
I don't either.
So that's McMurphy. College Football News has BYU against Notre Dame in South Bend in the first round. Boy, would that be a cold January or December day?
You and I have done a game at South Bend where we did a studio show from the sideline.
It'd be like 20 below zero.
Yeah, we were freezing.
Man.
Remember, we had a little break and we went up and got in the booth just to warm up.
Oh yeah, it was awful.
It was crazy.
You just got to win the Big 12 and get to a warm weather bowl game.
24/7 Sports has BYU winning the Big 12 championship, therefore securing the number 4 seed and getting a first round bye, and then playing Ohio State, who is the 5 seed, who they have winning in the first round, and then playing BYU. Now, that's going to be the quarterfinals. That could be the Sugar Bowl. That could be the Fiesta Bowl. So that'll be really interesting to see there. And then Athlon Sports doesn't have BYU in the college football playoff.
They're one of the few, the only one I could find that doesn't.
They haven't played Washington State in the Alamo Bowl, which is interesting.
Which would still be the richest bowl game BYU has ever played in.
And it's kind of interesting because a couple of these, like Brett McMurphy and those, are going, maybe I'm not being respectful enough to BYU because I'm still saying wait and see, and maybe I'm going to be surprised and they're going to go win the Big 12 because all the metrics say that BYU is the best team in the Big 12 right now, but some of the national pundits aren't quite all in.
Thank you for watching The Wise Guy.
If you like what you're watching, you can help us out by subscribing and hitting that notification button. All in yet.